Today we're going to be talking about the structure of the legislative branch. The main purpose of the Congress is to write laws, to tax and spend, the power of the purse, and to oversee that the laws are carried out faithfully, oversight. Now, when the Founding Fathers created Congress, they had the Great Compromise, which we learned about a long time ago. As you may recall, it involved the New Jersey Plan, where small states wanted equal representation to increase their power, and the Virginia Plan, where big states wanted proportional representation to increase their power. The small states believed equal representation was fair because then each state would get a same number of representatives, and the big states believed proportional representation was fair because they had more people, so they believed they deserved more representatives. In the end, we came up with a great compromise that uses both systems. And this is the bicameral legislature that we've been talking about. So as I just said, the legislative branch is bicameral. This means that there are two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. And here we have it, Congress, House of Representatives, which is proportional representation, and the Senate, where every state is equal. Virginia Plan, New Jersey Plan. The way it works is that you introduce a bill, it's debated in committees, and then refined on the Senate floor, and then you vote, majority rules. So here, the floor is where everyone would meet. They break off into little committees and subcommittees where they debate the bill and they work on it and they write it. It then gets sent back up to committee where they vote. If they vote favorably, it gets sent to the floor. When the floor votes, then it happens. First, go look at the House of Representatives. Here we can see a picture of the room. The House, according to the Constitution, has 435 members who serve a 2-year term. A few of their special features, only they can initiate impeachment. And they are also the source of all revenue bills, which is all bills about taxes. Because they're so big, they need a clear leader, who in this case is the Speaker of the House, who has a lot of power and can control the 435 members. They're very organized. They have party leaders, party whips, and committees. And one of the most important committees is the Rules Committee, which establishes the rules for each bill. We'll be learning more about them later. The power, if you're a member of Congress, the power comes from being able to set the agenda. The fact is there are too many bills, and so they get introduced every year. What we can see here between 2011 and 2013, 6,722 bills have been introduced. There's not enough time to debate them, to write on them, and to get them done. So while all these bills have been introduced, only 1,605 have been actually voted on. And of those, only 851 got passed. So what we want to see here is that when it comes down to it, controlling which bills actually get to this point is a huge power because most of them are going to die. They're not going to make it. What we can also see here is that Democrats have only won 34.5% of the vote while Republicans have won 90% of their votes. We'll see Congress is very partisan. So the organization of Congress is by party. It's going to be majority versus minority. The majority party is going to control and hold the most significant leadership positions. This includes the Speaker of the House and all the committee chairs. A committee chair is the person who controls the committee. Now what we can see here is currently in the House of Representatives, the majority are Republicans and the minority is the Democrats. There are 232 Republicans to the 200 Democrats currently in the House of Representatives. And that's why they win 90% of their votes. So House leadership is run by Speaker of the House John Boehner, and he's second in line for the president, and he is a Republican. And he sets the agenda for the House floor. These are the final votes on any bill. He also conducts the meetings. He decides when to hold any votes, and he's the chairman of the Rules Committee. The majority leader behind him, also a Republican, is Eric Cantor, and the House Majority Whip is Kevin McCarthy. He's in charge of rounding up the votes and keeping everyone in his party in line. Now, the Republicans' majority only works if they all stick together. The minute they drop below 217 votes, if some Republicans begin to go to the Democrat side on a vote, the Democrats can actually win, and they have done that every once in a while. We then also have Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, who's the leader of the Democrats. Now here we can just see that played out. So the Speaker of the House is the person in charge, but the Majority Leader also has a lot of say within the party, so they have to work together in the House of Representatives to keep the Republicans in line. And the whip is the person who goes around and makes their ideas actually happen. Make sure that all the Republicans are happy, make sure they're all going to vote the way that the Republican leadership wants. Minority Party will do the same, and they'll make sure to try to keep their party in line, especially when it's an important vote. Now, as we said, the House of Representatives is divided up into committees, and a committee is a smaller group that discusses and specializes in more specific issues. Each representative is allowed to be in a limited number of committees. They receive the assignments from their party's leadership, which means the majority leader and the Speaker of the House decide who gets to be on which committee. And as we'll see, some committees are more desirable than others, depending on your interests and your constituents. Now just to look at the different committees, we have Agriculture, Appropriations is a major one, Budget is a major one, anything that has to do with money. Rules is a huge committee, and Ways and Means, another money committee. So all the money committees are considered to be the most important and desirable, especially Appropriations. If you're in the Appropriations Committee, you decide where the money goes, and this is where you can get a lot of credit claiming opportunities, because you can start putting money into your district. Only the most senior politicians get to be on the Appropriations Committee, which means you have to have served a long time to earn your right to be on that committee. Now, if you are from the state of Iowa, you might want to be on the Agriculture Committee because it's important to your constituents. Whereas if you are maybe in Maryland and you have a lot of tech groups, you might want to be on Science, Space, and Tech. A lot of people also want to be on Transportation and Infrastructure because highways are a great way to get money into your district. Now, committee organization. The committee chair sets the agenda, and then there's subcommittee chairs, and then you are members of the subcommittee. So anyone who's a chair has that power of setting the agenda, which means they help decide which bills actually get to be voted on. If they don't put you on the agenda, then you don't ever get voted on. All right, now for the Senate. In the Senate, there are 100 members, 2 senators per state, like the New Jersey plan. They serve for 6-year terms, and they have some special relationships with the president. They confirm all presidential nominations, and they ratify treaties, something which the House cannot do. They have special rules, so they don't really need a rules committee that's not important. They have unlimited debate. That is always the rule. The only way to end debate is to have a vote for cloture. And this requires 60 votes. Then they can take the real vote where it's just majority rules. What we can see here in the 113th Congress is that the Democrats are the majority, but they only have 55 votes on their side, which means they need to get 5 Republicans to agree with them to end debate at any given time. We'll see that this makes things really messy. It means they have to work with the Republicans to get anything done, because the Republicans can just refuse to end debate, and then they can't vote on anything, even if, had they had the vote, they would win. Now here we can look at the Senate leadership. Now technically, the president of the Senate is the vice president, but he does not enter unless there's a tie. The president pro tempore is the 4th in line for the president, and is the one who actually holds the gavel and decides when everyone can speak. But really, the person with power is the majority leader. In this case, that's Senator Harry Reid. The majority whip would work with Harry Reid to make sure that all the Democrats are in line in the Senate and going to vote the way the Democrats want. The minority leader in the Senate actually also has a lot of power because they have to work together to end debate and then actually hold the vote. And the minority whip makes sure to keep all the Republicans in line, which is very important. If they lose 5 Republicans to go over to the Democrats' side, then they can't control the debate anymore. The Senate today, they said the president pro tempore has no real power. It's Patrick Leahy. He has the most time in the Senate Majority Party. Majority Leader is Harry Reid. He was elected by the Democrats to be their leader. The Majority Whip is Richard Durbin from Illinois. And the Minority Leader is Mitch McConnell from Kentucky. Now, committees in the Senate are less important than in the House of Representatives because the real action takes place on the floor. That being said, there are a few key committees that everyone wants to be on. Appropriations, of course, is huge in the Senate because it, again, is where the money goes, and deciding where the money goes means you could direct some of it to your district. Commerce is in charge of business, so that's also very important. Budget could be considered important as well. Foreign relations is where all future presidents want to be. Senator Hillary Clinton and Senator Barack Obama both got onto the Foreign Relations Committee because they needed to prove to the world before they ran for president that they had experience in Homeland Security. And the Senate Foreign Relations Committee gets access to some of the most top secret files so that they can show that they know what's going on in the world and that they're prepared to handle it. Judiciary Committee helps confirm all nominations to judges, and this is very important if you care about the direction that our judiciary is going. The key thing to remember about the Senate is that it is slow. The total Senate votes was 484 compared to the over 1,000 that took place in the House of Representatives over the same period of time. And what we can see here is even though the Democrats are the majority, they don't win as often as they might like. They've only won about 83% compared with the Republicans' 90%. And what we can see is they also don't have a very high pass rate. They only passed 266 bills, but the 218 of them failed. So as we can see, a lot of bills, they die. All right, these are your closing questions. Please make sure you finish those and bring them into class.